Hello and thank you for joining us. You're watching Addis News Hour with the news. I'm Tabitha John. Do stay with us. The Ethiopian Government Communications Service has released a statement denouncing the recent attacks on civilians by the terrorist Shane in Jardega Jarde, Western Oromia, mostly against ethnic Amhara residents. It underlined that such attacks on innocent civilian Amharas cannot restrain Ethiopia from achieving its prosperity. The service denounced in the statement the recent killings of innocent citizens and members of the local security force by the terrorist Shane in Horro Guduru Wallagga, Oromia State. It explained that the terrorist group was pushed out from several areas of Oromia region by the government security forces in collaboration with the local community, and it was dispersed and fled to the areas of Jardega Jarde, Horro Guduru Wallagga. The terrorist Shane committed this atrocity on innocent people in retaliation for the death of its local commander Jal Urji and his henchman who was killed yesterday, the statement reads. President of the African Development Bank urged other African countries to draw a lesson from Ethiopia's achievements in putting the Sekota Declaration into action and becoming productive. Akinwumi Adesina, President of the African Development Bank, AFDB, added that other nations should follow Ethiopia's example in implementing the Sekota Declaration. The Sekota Declaration is a pledge that is being carried out through a multi-sectoral initiative involving 9 various other sector ministries in Ethiopia. Kasahun Chane has more on that.
The Ethiopian government and African Development Bank organized a high-level presidential nutrition dialogue to inspire African leaders to work together to end childhood stunting, increase human capital, and advance development while sharing Ethiopia's experience with putting the Sekota Declaration in New York into practice. During the event, the president of the African Development Bank praised the Ethiopian government for its success in putting the Sekota Declaration into practice and being productive.
I want to commend the government of Ethiopia for the Sekota Declaration and from what you've seen. I think from Jamie, it's 3% every year. That's about 15% reduction, and they can continue to go more. When I listen to the Prime Minister, he wants to do $2.6 billion to really deal with that. That's the scale at which we need to work. For Your Excellencies, we cannot make progress without you. And we cannot make progress unless we focus on particular countries that have high levels of stunting. And that's why we decided to fix the 6 countries that are going to be our focus, which are all represented here: DRC, Congo, Malawi, Mozambique, Niger, Madagascar, and of course, Tanzania. And we also have Uganda. Your Excellencies, we need your political will. We need your political support.
Minister of Foreign Affairs Demeke Mekonnen also stated that the Sekota Declaration helps women and children obtain nutritional meals and will be fully implemented by 2030.
The government of Ethiopia launched the Sekota Declaration in 2015. Commitments to end stunting in children less than 2 years by 2030. The declaration was signed in Sekota House by all regional state presidents and city mayors to translate our commitment.
The first innovation phase was implemented between 2015 and 2020 in 40 high stunting burden waradas, districts of Amhara and Tigray National Regional States. 10 poverty-focused sector ministries are working together to execute the innovation phase plan. Lessons we wish to share from the innovation phase implementation are: 1. Establishment of program delivery unit, understanding the complexity of multi-sectoral coordination. We established federal and regional program delivery unit with multi-sectoral high-caliber technical experts, which serves as secretariat for the International Steering Committee.
Appreciating the African Development Bank, McConnell listed 4 key initiatives that help the Secota Declaration's outcomes: that the political leadership and budget allocation, financial and technical support from development partners, problem-solving methodologies, implementation, and gender-based feedback.
I would like to recognize the commitment of the Africa Development Bank for financing $48 million multi-sectoral action for stunting reduction project, which is co-financed by the government of Ethiopia, with special thanks to Dr. Adesina for your leadership. I also thank all partners who have been supporting the realization of the declaration so far. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, based on the innovation phase learning, we have started the expansion phase implementation into 240 waradas as of July 2021. In the expansion phase, we cover 240 waradas with a total population of 27 million people. The government has maintained our financial commitment by allocating $10 million, which will be matched from the regional government. We estimate a total of $2.6 billion funding need for full-scale operationalization.
Several government officials, including the President of Malawi, the Vice Presidents of Tanzania and Uganda, as well as representatives from donor organizations, were present at the conference.
Haptamu Ashagri presented that story. Meanwhile, Minister of Foreign Affairs Demeke Mekonnen has met with the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation, Sergei Lavrov, and Mali's Foreign Minister, Abdoulaye Diop. In the conversation with the Russian Foreign Minister, Demeke lauded the long-standing relationship between the two sides and spoke on the situation in Ethiopia in the context of the conflict in the north. The two sides agreed to tightening bilateral ties with expanded engagement in various sectors and cooperate in multilateral fora. They have also discussed the level understanding reached during Lavrov's visit to Ethiopia and reached an agreement that the meeting of the Joint Commission of the two countries should be held in a short period of time. In a separate conversation, Foreign Minister Mekonnen spoke with Abdoulaye Diop of Mali about ways to strengthen ties between the two nations and safeguard the continent's interest by fortifying the African Union.
Never experienced anything like this anywhere else in the world.
Everybody should come and visit the country.
That makes Ethiopia unique.
Ethiopian Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary to Pakistan, Jamal Bakr, said Ethiopia can play a major role in the economic and trade integration of Pakistan in the African region. Ethiopia has a prominent position in economic, commercial, and political terms in Africa, as Pakistan has special importance due to its location, he said. Ambassador Jamal said Ethiopia can play its best role in connecting Pakistan with the potential market of the African African region, and in the same way, Ethiopia can further improve economic and trade relations with Central Asian markets and China through Pakistan. The ambassador mentioned that at this time, African countries were developing the concept of digital diplomacy to connect themselves with the world's trade markets, which Ethiopia is also doing a great job. The ambassador stated that Ethiopia can import rice and sugar from Pakistan. Similarly, there are many opportunities for Pakistan in the Ethiopian market.
Never experienced anything like this anywhere else in the world.
Everybody should come and visit the country.
That makes Ethiopia unique.
Welcome back. An international lawyer says the formation of the Commission of Human Rights Experts on Ethiopia is problematic. Talking to ETV, the expert underscored that the commission was politically motivated and their conclusions were unprofessional and biased. The fact that the report came under fire by representatives of several countries at the UN summit in New York is a manifestation of how unreliable the commission has been. Haptamu Ashagre has glossed over the details of that interview. Take a look.
Ethiopia has been the subject of unfair and biased scrutiny at this august body for more than a year now. Various Ethiopian ambassadors have been saying the activities around the council, according to observers, is politically motivated and biased. Such misguided campaign against Ethiopia must stop at a time the government of Ethiopia is implementing the recommendations of the Joint Investigation Team, according to the international lawyer John Philot. According to Philot, no international law allows scrutiny by such body into the internal affairs of a single sovereign country.
The two bills in the U.S. Senate and the U.S. House of Representatives 6600 and Senate 3199, which is the U.S. gives itself the right in the law to judge human rights in your country. By what right could the U.S. look at human rights, particularly with what the U.S. does to Black people and the U.S. does to its poor and the homeless who are Black and white in every color? They have no right to judge your country, and they call for the creation of human rights investigations. And this overlaps with this Human Rights Commission. It's one of the underlying ideological aspects of it, and they want to look at human rights. And one thing that comes back again and again is the freedom of movement and the freedom of humanitarian aid. And this is a theme which comes up also in this human rights report. And you are in your country and your people know what's going wrong. I have read that there is a problem of food distribution in the north, which is used to transport arms. The investigations in your country will tell whether I'm right or not. But this is what I have read.
The commission was formed only in consideration of the growing Western pressure, he said, adding the selection of investigators leaves much to be desired. That explains why no African nations gave the hastily and reckless formed committee the green light.
When it was formed on December 17th, 2021, am I right about the date? I think the date's right. It was voted on in the Human Rights Committee, and the vote was 21 for, 15 against, 11 abstentions. So 21 for, and the abstentions and against were 26. So doesn't seem to have a support in the broad international community. China, Russia, Cuba, Eritrea voted against. No white country, because we are talking about colonialism, voted against it. No African country voted for the creation of this commission.
From the outset, Ethiopia objected to the establishment of the commission. The commission was founded on a series of erroneous premises. Ironically, some members of this council confessed this and expressed regret to us, arguing that this was politically motivated. Despite these reservations, however, the government engaged the commission in a genuine effort of arriving at modalities that could have allowed us to work with the commission.
It's quite biased because they do not seem to have addressed the issues of crimes committed by the TPLF. And they seem only to talk about alleged crimes committed by the government soldiers and government army. This is a big issue, and we've seen this in the past.
These reappointed officials under the United Nations Human Rights Commission are far from reliable as professionals, much less as neutral judges, he said.
The two bills in the U.S.
The Ethiopian government has categorically rejected the report of International Commission of Human Rights Experts on Ethiopia, ICHRI. The ICHRI presents its initial findings on the conflict in northern Ethiopia with intent to demonize the government. To shed more light on this, I'm now joined over the phone by Dr. Samson Makonnen, Assistant Professor of Public Relations and Strategic Communications with the Addis Ababa University. Hello, Dr. Samson, and so good to have you, and welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
So the Commission of Human Rights Experts on Ethiopia said it had found evidence of widespread violations by all sides since fighting erupted in Tigray nearly 2 years ago. Now, how could such an establishment equate a democratic government with a ragtag terrorist army? What's your take on this?
Thanks so much for the question. And first, what I want to say is that I can declare the fact that the Office of High Commissioner for Human Rights is in fact in the state of abuse of monopoly of power. I can't say this in a very absolute terms, actually. The reason is that, it's to be recalled that joint task force has been established by the government of Ethiopia in order to consider and implement various recommendations given by Human Rights Commission established by United Nations before a while. And the United Nations Human Commission established a very different committee, which is actually illegal and, of course, illogical, for the fact that the recommendation by the previous committee has been implemented in Ethiopia. So this is actually against the law of United Nations, investigation of human rights, and it should be highly criticized. So any rational individual should ask for the fact that what is the problem, what is the gap with the previous investigation? Is there methodological inadequacy, or is there the problem of any scoping, or what really motivated the current establishment of Human Rights Commission? So unless you justify the need of the new Human Rights Commission, which recently posted its finding, it's actually illogical to accept, and you can clearly see the political motive by European Union.
Dr. Samson.
What I can say is that there is some conspiracy. Smells something is going on behind the curtain, So as United Nations is a very international organization, and it should be very credible on what it's doing. So that my stance on this point is that things has to be critically done. As a matter of fact, we have seen some inadequacies in terms of the need for the second investigation, and also why the first findings are really disregarded. That's the question, actually.
Dr. Samson, let me now move on to my next question. So how could the report be described, especially in light of such concepts as principles of professionalism, independence, impartiality, and standards of proof?
Very good question. From the very beginning, it's important to critically analyze who are commissioners, actually. So, Karibeti Muringan, she is one, the commissioner of the recently established team of investigators. She's been sharing different posters from TPLF. She's been working different advocacy for the terrorist group TPLF. So how could be one who has been supporting the TPLF be nominated as or assigned as a commissioner for the investigation? That's the first question. So it is very simple to expect biases and unbalanced judgments of the report based upon who is actually assigned as a commissioner. And second one is when you critically analyze the details of the report, they try to include very few individuals as a data source, you know. So when you take data, you have to verify facts. So the responders could be unreliable, they could misinform, they could lie. Therefore, you have to critically interrogate and triangulate facts, unless otherwise it could be taken as something very, very unreliable and invalid. Therefore, the other point is actually what's very funny is the report by itself declares that there are different limitations regarding the study or the investigation. For example, time has been mentioned as one of the limitations. So they could have asked extension of time for investigation. And second one is there was a problem of data collectors or staffing experts. Therefore, they could also ask different experts to participate on the study. And also, they really declared that there has been a problem of document review. In fact, they could review documents or reports which has been done previously. So that with all these methodological inadequacies and limitations, they came up with earth-shaking finding that Ethiopian government has committed a serious crime against humanity. Therefore, it is very illogical for any rational person to believe that interviewing 2 or 3 individuals, very few with different limitations, and reaching on the conclusion that crime against humanity has been committed. So these kinds of findings are really very funny. So, you know, and also they come up with recommendation that, in fact, which is unbalanced compared to the finding they have got, and also considering the methodological inadequacy. For example, they recommended that, you know, the United Nations Security Council should take it as an agenda and move to a serious and immediate action to intervene in the Ethiopian issue. Therefore, these kinds of layman procedural inadequacies should be seriously criticized. Therefore, at any stretch of measurement, at any stretch of scientific measurement, this report is completely inadequate. That's what I see.
Wow. Samson Makonnen, Assistant Professor of Public Relations and Strategic Communications with the Addis Ababa University. Thank you very much for such an illuminating presentation. Have a pleasant evening.
Thanks so much. Have a good one.
Safargo.
Maldo makaga mogofa yelo mahe galbaisa ufaita dishachi deraso malo mahe galbaisa mahe
እኛ የምንሄድበትን መንገድ ሰንኮፋዎች እንኳን ቢያጋጥሙ እንደ መልካም አጋጣሚ ወስደን ማለፍ እንጂ እንደ መሮቻችን ችግር አርገን መውሰድ የለብንም። በዚህ መልኩ ነገሮችን እንድናያስ አድራላችሁ ፈልጋለሁ።
እሺ ባስካ መስቀላ ዮ
ናሽጊ ናሻጋ መጎፋይሳ ተናራይተ ታብለጭ የተሳ ማናዛምቦይ አደና ቴቴቴቴ ስር ኑት
Yahode Meskela is a most cherished month-long New Year celebration of the people of Hadiyya and many other groups in the southern part of Ethiopia. As spring spreads across dazzling lawns, the old year passes and the new year is officially welcomed on September 11th, September 1 in the Ethiopian calendar. However, there are an array of traditional celebrations that take place on different dates during September, particularly across the breadth and width of the tradition-rich south. Clad in the red and white spotted Hadiyya traditional outfit, Ergoge Tesfaye, one of the big wigs in the Council of Ministers and currently in charge of Women and Social Affairs, told ETV's Getu Lako that Yahode, beyond being a celebration, also allows distant relatives to meet and spend time together, exchange good wishes and reconcile the old year's grudges. It is given special attention as women prove their time-tested excellence in leadership. Take a look.
ሁሉንም ህዝብ በአንድነት የሚያስተሳስር ትልቅ እሴት ያለው ባህል ስለሆነ በዓለም ስለሆነ ይህ የበለጠ መጎልበት አለበት። የህዝቦችን ትስስርና አንድነት፣ ሰላም፣ እድገት የሚያበስር ነው። ለዛ ነው የሴቶችም እኩልነት፣ ህፃናት የሚከበሩበት፣ እንስሳትም እንደዚሁ የሚከበሩበት፣ ተፈጥሮ ከፍ የሚልበት በዓል ነውና ይህ እንግዲህ ብዙ መዳበር ያለባቸው የማህበረሰብ እሴቶች የያዘ ነው።
ሰላም አብሰሪያ ውጪ ተረቃችን በጣም ነው ቀኑ መስቀል በዓላችን ምርቃለ ስኬት አሜን ለሁላችን ደስታን ይገኛል አባባዶ ዘራቸኛል አባባዶ ዘራቸኛል አባባዶ ዘራቸኛል
Today Bank, formerly known as Amhara Credit and Savings Institute, has officially joined the banking industry with 7.75 billion birr signed capital on September 24, 2022. On its opening ceremony, Today Bank commences its final banking service with 148 branches in Addis Ababa and Amhara region. Gasha Workena, the Chief Corporate Property Manager of the bank, revealed that Today's Bank previous status as Credit and Savings Institute has been ranked as Africa's top and world's 6th financial institute. Gasha remarked that the bank will continue providing quality service and strengthen its international competitiveness by introducing new systems. He also announced that Tadai Bank has entered the banking industry with 11.3 billion birr net capital, 7.75 billion birr signed capital, and strong human resource. The corporate manager pledged that the bank will contribute greatly to the country's economy. Tadai Bank started its service in 1996 as Rural Credit Service within only 3 million birr, and in 1997 was upgraded into Microfinance Institute, Amhara Credit and Savings Institute in 10 zones in the Amhara region, he elaborated. Its name, Tadai, implies spring season. And finally, from across Africa, Uganda has confirmed 7 cases of Ebola, including a man who died this week, and 7 other deaths are being investigated as suspected cases of a strain for which the authorities do not yet have a vaccine, officially said on Saturday. We have the following report. Take a look.
A frightening infectious disease has returned to one African nation. According to the World Health Organization, an Ebola outbreak has been declared in Uganda. Health officials have found a dozen cases of the viral infection also known as Ebola hemorrhagic fever. Several diseases have been attributed to the outbreak. Ebola is spread through contact with body fluids. It can take several days for symptoms to appear. This disease causes both internal and external bleeding, and it's often fatal.
Almost doesn't need to be said, Ebola is a very, very deadly illness.
There is no approved vaccine for Ebola, yet one researcher told reporters last year.
The Sudan Ebola virus that we're also targeting here is also a very deadly form of Ebola. The fatality rate from these kind of viruses ranges from somewhere between 20 to 90%.
The Sudan Ebola virus that we are also targeting here is also a very deadly form of Ebola, and the fatality rate from these kinds of viruses, ranges from somewhere between 20 to 90%. Unfortunately for those in Uganda, the Sudan strain was the one identified in this most recent outbreak. Now authorities in Uganda are working to trace the source of the infection and isolate those who may have been infected in the hopes of continuing this outbreak before it spread more widely.
You're watching Addis News Hour. Here's a reminder of the stories making headlines. Ethiopia's implementation of Sokotra Declaration lauded as a model for other nations. And international lawyer says establishment of ICHRI violates Ethiopia's sovereignty. That's all we had for now. I'm Tabitha John. Many thanks for watching. Have a good night and do take care.